2, 1.
Hey everybody, I'm Deanna Kosaraju. I am the founder and CEO of an organization called Global Tech Women. Our mission is to create a global network of inspired, self-actualized, and connected women around the world. And we have this webinar series called Women Talk Tech. It's a 1-hour event that we hold at least twice a month where we bring in women from around the world talking about cool technology and topics of interest to technical women around the world. So today I have the fortunate opportunity to introduce you to Lisa Foreman. She is the founder and CEO of the Women's Society of Cyberjutsu. And when I heard that name, I was really interested in what she does. She is a leading expert in the field of cybersecurity. And in this webinar, Lisa will provide information on exactly what cybersecurity means, what types of jobs are currently available, and she will explain how you can get training to join this field at any level. So the Women's Society of Cyberjutsu is a community of information security professionals, IT professionals, programmers, computer scientists, as well as women wanting to explore and join the field. So Lisa is joined with 2 of her colleagues. I will give her the reins so she can go ahead and introduce them. Lisa, welcome to Women Talk Tech.
Thank you so much, Deanna, and I want to give you kudos for setting up this platform. I know we have the same vision for getting the information out to the women, so thank you for that, and thank you for having us on. So before I get into the slides, I wanted to introduce 2 women here, Krista and Lori, who have asked to join us because I think between the 3 of us, we can provide a better and more encompassing perspective of backgrounds for those of you that might be on the call, on the webinar. Krista Cox is, she's actually just got a new job with the FBI. Her background, she took computer classes in high school, went to Rochester IT, just a college, right?
Yeah, right.
College. So they actually job placement program. So they placed her in a government contractor job where she did security stuff. And like I said, she just got a new job with the FBI. So that's great. So she's coming from the college type background. So I know we have a lot of college folks on the call here. And then Lori, you're a network engineer, but you do security stuff, right? Yeah. So Lori's got a lot of experience. She's, to me, like a networking guru. She's going for a CCIE, which is like top dog cert for networking. So she's my idol.
And you're mine.
And this is great. We talked yesterday. We were just geeking out. It's great to have this kind of community of women that could finally get together and just geek out and talk about technology and security and stuff. So Lori will provide a perspective on from that end. So let's get into the slides. This is really about, I think the interest is in, you hear all the hype about cybersecurity and how do you get into it, right? So the agenda, this is what we're going to cover. So what is cybersecurity? Sources of threats and attacks. What are the impacts? Where do you come in? The types of jobs that are out there. How do you actually get into the field? The prerequisites and the challenges. So cybersecurity, I don't want to say it's a hype word, but in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, it's really been all over the news and everyone's like, ooh, cybersecurity. But for those of us that have been in the field, we called it, IT security, infosec for information security from those of us coming from military or government background. But it's all encompassing. It's computer security. I have other words in here. It's all encompassing for these things. And the bottom line of what cybersecurity is it's the protection of data and systems from the threats and attacks that are out there. So these are the types of threats and attacks. And just so you know, I'm providing a basic background for those that may not know exactly what cybersecurity is. So I'm just going to touch on a couple things here. So these are your main threats in forms of where the attacks come from. So you have hackers, right? And I have script kiddies and professionals. So the script kiddies are people that know how to run the tools versus your sophisticated hackers that write the code and write these tools. It's kind of a derogatory term, but until you're at that level, you can be called a script kiddie. I don't mind being called that because I'm not at that level yet where I can write, you know, a tool or a script right off the bat. So that's fine. Professionals, I'm talking about malicious professionals for the hackers. Not, you have ethical hackers and you have unethical, which are your malicious hackers. Hacktivists are those hackers that are motivated by political and ethical social issues. One example is the, I'm sure you've heard of Anonymous, that group. They did a DOS, which is not denial of service attack against PayPal because they were blocking folks that wanted to fund the WikiLeaks group. So that gives you an idea of hacktivism. Insiders are folks that are working like in a company. You either have workers, you know, employees that just aren't trained and will go out and click a link, for example, that they shouldn't click. They don't know any better because they don't have the training, the security awareness training. Other types of insiders are those that are bribed by criminals that, you know, if they want the money, they're going to help out the criminal to get the information to help them hack into the company. Criminals, these are folks that are motivated by money, mostly. Example, I don't know if you remember the attack, the hack on, what's it called, that store, TJX, what's the store that got hacked? What's TJX?
TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx, okay, yeah, that was a big hack. The guy recently got sentenced to 20 years in prison. He was actually helping out the Secret Service, but then he still ended up, you know, doing another hack, which put him in jail. So that's a type of criminal. And then you have this other category, those in foreign countries, and I have cyber terrorism, cyber espionage, and cyber warfare. This is where you see a lot of it, like on the news, where they talk about being hacked by different countries. This is the category that they fall into, and they're doing all types of bad things, which leads into why we need cybersecurity professionals. So I'm going to move on here. Impacts. So impacts are, you know, basically the events that happen as a result of being hacked. So these are all pretty much bad things, which you don't want. The only good thing that I could think that would come out of hacking is now somebody will take action, and that's unfortunate that we have to result to that for a company to take action, right? So you have here, you know, financial loss, IP theft, extortion is a good one. And then this is really bad down here. I mean, you could actually, you know, like SCADA systems, which are your vertical infrastructure systems. I mean, you could, you know, derail a train, for example. I have here shut off the power grid. Those are very bad things. So we move into where do you come in? You have all these attacks and threats. Now we need the people to be able to handle these. And I just pulled out, you know, some quotes. There's, if you do a Google, there's so many stories out there of the demand for cybersecurity professionals and the lack of them. So you can just read here, you know, the need for cybersecurity professionals is likely to continue. I like this one down here at the bottom. The scarcity is reflected throughout the education system. So there's a big need for that in the schools starting, I would think, at the middle school level, if not sooner, and especially with women and girls, because, you know, I think at that age they're being told, you know, computers are for boys, why don't you go do, I don't know, social work or something like that. So it's no new news. There's a big need for cybersecurity people, and it seems like there's a lot of interest, but maybe not knowing how to get into it is the biggest question. So hopefully we can shed some light on that. For this, I just put down some jobs, some typical jobs that you'll find in the field. These are across, you know, government and the government contractors and then the private sector. And not all these are technical. You know, like in the legal field, you still need folks that understand, you know, the essence of a hack or whatnot, and and tie that into the digital forensics of how to do the chain of custody and go through the litigation process. Policy writers don't have to be technical, but all these jobs, you have to have the underlying understanding of IT and or networking. I would say both to get into security. We're going to touch on that in a little bit here. I like your programmers out there, your developers. I would think you would do, good in like application security testing, code review, reverse engineering, and exploit development. Like the last two there, those are really cool. And you could be considered a elite hacker if you can really do those things. And you're really reversing the code of a software, for instance, or some malware. I got malware analysts down there. So this is an idea of the different types of jobs out there. Again, you don't have to be technical, but you have to have an understanding of security. So let me move on here. So this is the big question. How do you get in? Hold on a second here. So I think a good way to start is at your current job, because you're already there, right? If you can show interest and take initiative, and I'm pretty sure every company has a security group now. Start talking to them and start doing self-study. Start showing interest and ask them, how can I help out? One of the things I did and how I actually got started is I set up I wasn't really in security at the point. I was like more of a system network administrator, but I asked, hey, can I stand up this box? I stood up an FTP box, and at the time I was teaching myself things. So I was setting up I was VNC. I was SSHing through VNC to the box at work. I set up TCP wrapper, so then I could look at the logs of folks trying to hack into the box. I was like, cool, So that led me to increase my knowledge, and then they saw that I was, taking initiative, so they kind of let me do some more stuff with like within the AD environment with GPOs and managing our own division, security-wise. Interning is a good way. I have some links in the resources section of places that you could get internships, but this is still lacking. There's not a lot of internships that I know of. So you just gotta search for them and look for them. I don't know. What do you guys, Krista, Lori? Do you agree?
We have internships sometimes during the summer when kids are off out of school and you get a little summer job. But they don't really let you get into anything that, because of security reasons. But, you can actually see someone else do it. That's a good way to get some experience.
Right, and just the exposure, right? I mean, that would be so helpful. I wish I would be so much more ahead right now if I could just sit over somebody's shoulder and watch what they do on their job.
Yeah.
Another one here is cyber competitions. There's quite a few out there now. A lot of them are with the colleges. So if you can get on a team, and what they do is they compete with other colleges, either defense or offense, hacking into a box or defending a box. And they're like capture the flag. So you have to hack the other team's server and capture the flag, basically. So that's a great opportunity. I believe it's USCC, which is one of the bigger ones. They actually have recruiters come out to those and hire folks out of the competitions. So that's a good way too. Colleges that have job placement assistants, like the one Krista went to, RIT, they placed her in a job right out of college. So I think that was really great. I don't know if you want to add to that, Krista, on how that went down.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we had as part of our degree program to graduate, you had to go out and seek internships, and it helped you with the internships. And then if it didn't work out where you got a job right from that co-op, there was job fairs and always recruiters coming on site, and they kind of made sure that you got a job, and they had about a 70-80% job placement rate. So it was really good.
And I'm sure there are other schools out there, and again, it's a matter of, finding them. I didn't do an extensive search on that, but also doing a search on vocational schools, vocational technology schools is another way. I put law enforcement. They have a big part of security because they're law enforcement. So I don't know. I don't know what agencies actually have internships, but I know some do. So maybe approaching a police station or whatnot and saying, hey, I really want to learn this. Can I just be a fly on the wall or something? I don't know. Any way that you can get in, I would try, because we'll get into this later, but there are, some challenges with getting in this field. Job fairs, Krista mentioned that. They're plentiful. I guess it may depend on the area you're in. I know here in the DC area, of course, there's a lot of job fairs, and I think probably in your major metropolitan areas where technology is big, you're going to have job fairs. Company websites, and for all these I have and places you can go for these. So company websites, they have their own listings that may not be on the job boards. So that's a good place for you to find jobs. I know DHS is ramping up their job board and hiring folks. Security groups, that's big because you are among those that you want to be working with, right? So I have some groups listed at the end there, and really find a mentor, network, immerse yourself. Those all fall into the same thing. You want to find a mentor, and it doesn't have to be a woman. My mentor was a man. When I was coming up and I was getting out of the military, he was like, you need to get all these certs. So in that year time frame, I got all these certs, and I can't say I would have been had I not had those certs because I had them, but I definitely got a lot of calls for jobs, and they range from Unix to Microsoft, not just security, Cisco, because you need to have a foundation, right, in IT again. Again, I'm going to stress that because you can't just jump into security. You need to have a foundation. So mentor, man or woman, more than one, whoever you can latch onto is really what you need to do. Networking, again, whoever you can talk to, wherever you can talk to them. You never know who you meet, if they can bring you in or help you out. So it's definitely a way to get in. And I put immerse yourself because you can't just tiptoe around and expect to get a job. You need to be aggressive in a way, because although they're saying, oh, there's so many, we need so many people, they're just not going to say, oh, you want to be in security, come on, So you need to just get out there and get in it. Yeah, so you just need to get in it any way you can. All right, so let's talk about prerequisites. Okay, so again, I'm stressing IT background. I would say networking too. It's very important to have a foundation. So just to give an example from the way I came up, I was in the military, but I was a system administrator. So I've always wanted to be a hacker. So anything about computers, I was studying, I was playing, breaking. So I got into, to be a system administrator. Then I moved up and I learned about networking. One regret I have is not taking more programming courses because it just scared me, and I was like, I don't want to do programming. But now I think it would help me more had I taken more programming courses. So that's something I've been doing lately, is teaching myself on Python and C++. Education. More colleges now are implementing cybersecurity programs, so if that's the way you think you want to go, definitely take advantage of that. Computer science is still a good background to get into cybersecurity, because you're doing, you know, a lot of the engineering topics and the programming topics, forensics, and definitely IT. My degree is in IT because they didn't have cybersecurity, and I was scared of computer science again. Training. So it's important to, when you take these courses, these boot camps, that you're supplementing. You're supplementing them by doing hands-on. And we'll talk about how to get some training via, you know, home labs and whatnot. So I put not just theory, because you can understand and read a book, but if I go tell you to go set up an Active Directory domain, do you know how to do that? You know, and set up GPOs. You need to know these things. It's beneficial to know multiple operating systems, so Linux, Unix, Microsoft. Learn some Cisco. They have, you know, multiple places where you can do online labs and simulations. And then certifications, I listed some here. These are your basics, and this is the order that I'll probably go if you want to get into security. So your A+ is your hardware type cert, and Security Plus is CompTIA's version of, you know, the security introductory security course certification. Microsoft, I don't know what they have now. Back then it was MCSE. What is it, Lori? What do they have now? They revamped their whole certs.
It's kind of, I forgot what the new one is. It's like Microsoft Certified Professional. It's really generic-ish.
And we were talking about that earlier, where you need certs. This is a debated subject. You need certs because, you know, HR is looking at them. They think now that you have your CISSP, you know everything about security. Same thing with the MCSE back in the day. Everyone got it. The field got saturated, and, you know, everyone was just a paper MCSE, but they don't have a clue. They didn't have a clue on how to do stuff. So, you know, I would say get it. It shows that you can comprehend the material. You can pass the test. But again, you have to supplement in other ways to know how to do the hands-on portion. I think that's important.
Yeah, and Lisa, one of the other things is that you can't just have hands-on either. You really have to know the theory behind it so that when you come encounter something new, you know the basis of it and can, you know, learn on the fly.
And that's the thing, you have to continuously learn the stuff, you know. You have to have a lab. I don't see how else you can continually practice things and keep up with technology if you don't have a lab, right? So good stuff there. I put patience, persistence, self-motivation. If you say you want to be in this field, but you don't do the things that show that you want to, then you're not going to advance. That's the bottom line. I put patience because, like I said before, you're not just going to jump in. Even for mid-career IT folks, they may put you in like an information assurance position where they're going to throw you into doing documentation. You may take it because it's your way in, fine. But for me, that was boring. I like hands-on. I want to run scans and, you know, do some hacking. So you got to be patient, persistence, and have self-motivation. I mean, if you would know if you're motivated if you're, you know, reading security books, you know, and hacking and getting, you know, going to these groups and just geeking out. You're a true security person, right? Okay, so let's talk about some of the challenges. Okay, security overall has many areas. They're niches. So you have, like, you know, penetration testing. You have forensics. There's many little areas, and it's good to know all the areas, but you will spend a lifetime being an expert in each one of them. So try to figure out what you have interest in, and then, you know, really learn all that you can about that particular area. My particular interest is in penetration testing, you know, ethical hacking. So I'm always, you know, doing stuff at home, reading books, taking a cert, anything I can do. Another challenge is the lack of experience, and I put catch-22 with getting a job. So I don't think this is new with any field, but it's especially true with security because it's like, how can you get the experience if they won't hire you, right? So some of the things, and I think I wrote it down here. You have to, I don't want to say embellish, you know, you have to know, like when you go into an interview, you have to know what you're talking about. But you have to maybe embellish your resume a little bit so you can get past HR, right? And then you have to be able to perform that job and when you get into it, if you get hired. So there's ways around getting in the field and getting past HR. And again, one of the things they look at is those certs. But for some folks, if you can come in and show that you have so much experience, and that's a good thing with security. Like sometimes they'll just say, you know, I want you to do this. I want you to crack into this box, and they don't care about your certs because you've proven to them that you can do it, right? So that's a good thing too about the security field. What do we got here? Male-dominated field. We know it. We deal with it. So you have to figure out ways to work through it until it's not going to change overnight, right? So you just have to. The way I think about it is my strategy is learn all I can and come in hardcore more than what some of the guys know. It's like, whoa, she knows that, right?
Yeah.
You have to show by action. And that's, you know, it's just the way it is right now. You can't help it. Discriminatory practices. Yeah, you're gonna get that. What can you do? You can fight it now and you know, complain, but don't just whine about it. You got to take action. So beef up on your skills, your knowledge. You know, make connections where you can, and then you'll eventually gain respect, and then, you know, more likely get into the job. Uh-oh, what happened here? Hold on a second. I put security clearance process is long and complex, and this is more applicable, obviously, to government contractors. You're talking 6 to 8 months, you know, for clearance. So that's a problem that's known with the government, and I don't know how they're fixing that issue. But just so you know, if you're looking to get into the government, who are actually the people that need the people the most, right? So figure. But that's something you need to know. But the government's not the only folks hiring for security people. Yeah, you know, the Fortune 500 companies, consulting companies. And then the pipeline, there's no pipeline. Again, we need these people, you know, but we have these people, we can't connect them, and that's a bigger problem. So it's a maneuver issue, and that's why you have to network and just get in where you can, you know, and security groups, mentoring or finding a mentor are good ways to just maneuver getting into the field. So I'm not going to go through all these. These are more for you to look at offline, but I'm just going to run through these real quick. These are resources for you to look into. So I put get training / experience, books. There's lots of books. Read them. Lots of hacking websites and blogs. Read those. Build your lab, and then mimic those and practice those things. Videos and webcasts. I think I put, oh, I didn't write it down, but securitytube.net, YouTube. Laura, you mentioned Cisco has webcasts. There's a lot of companies that have webcasts. It's just a matter of Googling. You're going to be a master of Google for this too, just finding information. I know there's been a few women that have come to me, and even guys. I don't mind helping guys out because I want everyone. I like to see people succeed. So when they tell me or they ask me what can I do, I was like, you need to build a lab. That's one of the first things I say, because you have to know it, and be familiar. You're not going to talk it and then get on the job and then you don't know what you're doing. That's not good. So there's a lot of, they're called distros, live distros, where they can run off the CD, and there are hackable, websites out there. The CDs allow you to run in RAM, and you can do all types of learning and hacking against them. And then you would probably want to run them in the virtual machines like VMware or VirtualBox, which is what we use. We run pretty much all of stuff, so you don't mess up your host computer doing that. We talked about interning. Here's some security groups that you can get affiliated with. Meetup.com has a lot. LinkedIn groups. I'm like part of, well, I think the max is 50 for LinkedIn, so I have 50 LinkedIn groups, and I get a lot of information from those groups because people in the field are posting, right? And for Guard, that's FBI backed, so that's a good group. So there's some links there for internships that I mentioned. So company websites I touched on. If you want to Google the top government contractors and then go to their website to see their job listings, same with the Fortune 500 companies, that's one way. USA Jobs for the government. Dice.com is very technology centric for job boards. How's it doing that? And then let's see where I want to touch on. The colleges. So if you see a college that has an NSA COE, which is a Center of Excellence, they have what they call the Scholarship for Service program, which means you go to college and then through this program, and then they'll place you into a government job as an intern. So that's a way you can get into it as well. Vocational schools, we talked about that. Mentorship. So you might find a mentor in your own company. We talked about that. Of course, our group does mentoring. Oh, conferences. This is good. DEF CON, Black Hat are big. The two biggest security conferences. SharkFest is based on Wireshark type, right, Lori?
Yes.
So that's a good one. You don't just want to go to security conferences necessarily. There are a lot of technology conferences too that will benefit you. So that's a matter of Googling. We'll have it on our calendar as well. We plan to go to these together as a group. Online courses. I'm actually signed up for this one with Course Hero for cryptography. It's really cool. It's free, So you gotta find and take advantage of what's out there if you really want to learn this stuff. Lori gave me this one, CCNA Associate, which is you have to have that in order to get the CCNA Security cert if you want to go that route. SecurityTube, YouTube, I mentioned that, and there's just so much information out there. It's a little overwhelming, so if you have a mentor or somebody that you can ask, or even us, we can give you more detailed, directed direction. There's just so much out there. And then these two links I found were really helpful. So they actually cover the same things I've covered as far as how to get into security, because it's obviously not a new question. So I think that takes us to the end. Here's our information. So Deanna, do we want to open it up for Q&A now? I know I covered a lot. It's just a lot of information, so we don't want to take a lot of time.
Right, and just to let everyone know, this is a lot of information. We'll be putting up the presentation and the resources that are part of this presentation on the website and the recording, so you can always view this later on and refer to it. And then also, visit Lisa's website. It's a great organization. So if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and enter those in down at the chat room down below, and we will get to those questions. While people are typing in, Lisa, can you kind of give us you talked about certifications, obviously really important, so that, you build credibility, with potential employers and with potential internships and things like that. Is there kind of a place in the resources that you provided that would kind of give an overview of the different types of certifications and why you would choose one over the other, or what would you recommend?
I think I touched on it on one of the slides, and I said this is the order that you would go in, because you need to start from the foundation of IT. So I said A plus, and I'll put that in the slide, but A plus is your hardware, Network plus is your networking, Microsoft, and then Cisco. So you're building up from IT into security, right? And like I said, it's debatable about certs, but it doesn't hurt. You are going to learn something from studying for that. So why not? HR folks are looking at that, so you might as well get it just to get it. And then,
as an add-in to that, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, as an add-in to deciding the cert, as far as a government perspective, they have what's called 8570 compliant. So there's different levels, and the certifications match those levels. And to be hired into positions, they want to see that you have your CEH or see that you have that to qualify for that level of a job. So that's also good when you're looking at certifications to get.
That's a good point that I didn't mention. Yeah, it's a requirement now for some. I think, well, the 8570 is basically saying for certain government jobs, certain government contractors, you need to have the CSSP. And now I think they're moving into having the CH, from what I hear. So you might as well get that, right? Yeah.
Another question that I had while I was listening is, so you talked about setting up the lab, and I have a background in building databases, and I would go in and I'd corrupt my data and then rebuild my database from scratch. So I would create an environment where I would purposely break things and then go in and fix them. So when you're talking about cybersecurity, what kind of a lab did you set up, and what are So there's a lot of technical women on this call. I know many of them are in networking or in databases. What would you recommend a lab look like for them?
So you want to definitely have a Microsoft-based domain if you can build an Active Directory domain, using VirtualBox or VMware, and then add on a client host into that. And I would add on not only Windows but Linux based. And then Lori and I were talking yesterday. There's something called GNS3 where you can simulate routers and a switching environment and tie that into your network. But at minimum, I would have a domain based if you can, and then have all types of servers. A web server. Both Microsoft and Linux based, so, and then have like SQL databases, because that's the hottest way right now that folks are getting hacked, these websites, because SQL injections, cross-site scripting. What else? Patched and unpatched systems. It'll help you learn how to do exploitation. What else, guys? Try to simulate a real environment, basically. A real environment is going to have a database, it's going to have a web server, a mail server, all those things. And if you can simulate that, you're going to be better off.
VLAN separations, and you'll have your different servers and stuff on different VLANs, and you might have to go from one to the other. And you can always pick up some old boxes, because these things don't really have to run really well. There's no performance requirements when you're setting up a lab. All it has to do is function. It doesn't have to function at a certain level. So you can pick up something cheap and throw something on it and use that in the test.
Well, you're mostly going to be concerned with RAM because, you know, if you're running like three to five VMs on a machine or your laptop, you're sucking up your RAM. So if anything, you want, even if it's an old box, you want a lot of RAM. I was going to say something. I don't remember. So we have some questions.
Yeah, there's some questions. Do you want to go ahead and answer these, Lisa?
I'm an undergrad
Can you see them?
computer science student in India. RxC, so that's a Red Hat. I'm currently working on cryptography. Interested in doing an intern. I don't know where Ben can help. Yes, I mean, like I mentioned before, we know, you know, places that do internships. I'm not sure, that's going to require a lot of research coming out of, I don't know what they have in India. But I actually, you know, what's funny is I have a lot of contacts on my LinkedIn that are from India, so maybe I can hit them up. And that's a good thing about LinkedIn. You can really leverage your contacts on there. So yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I would recommend. I do a lot of work in India. I spend three to 4 months a year in India, and so I would recommend, you know, definitely reaching out to organizations like Cisco has a huge. I don't know where you are. Sorry, I didn't notice in the question if you said where you're located, but you might want to reach out to organizations such as Cisco. You know, they have huge cybersecurity divisions. They do a lot of work for, you know, like the Chinese government. You know, where they're building products to prevent hacks and attacks. So that might be a great place for you. Any you know, multinational that's doing that kind of work, they have some huge facilities in Bangalore. You might want to look into that, and I could possibly help with that too. Very good. Good. Let's see. Leslie Piper found it helpful to download Backtrack. Good for you. Where'd it go? Current things like ECL, virtual competitions, cool. You meant any other kind of software for CTF competitions or things like that? I think you're on the right track for sure. Again, this ties into having a lab. Backtrack is the go-to pen test platform. So running that against your lab will definitely prepare you for that. I think you're on the right track with that. I don't recommend other kinds of software. Probably those live CDs I talked about to get you familiar with different types of you know, exploitation, whatnot, like Matilda Day, WebGoat. There's a lot of distros out there, and I could throw that up on the slides. There are a lot of distros out there that are made just for you to learn security concepts and help with that. So that's a good question. I'll throw that up on the slides. How's the industry looking for project management? Oh, that's good. I'm on the support side for a company that does InfoSec things, looking toward PMS. Yeah, I'm actually looking, you know, to get my PMP. And at minimum, I would think you would probably want to get your CSSP, just because, you know, again, that certification is almost needed nowadays for you to have any credibility, especially if you're going to be in a management position. Actually, that exam is really made for management, to be honest. So definitely need project managers and PMs, because not everybody is technical or wants to do technical work. But you have to know the basics again. You know, you don't have to know how to hack, but you need to know the basics of security. So if that's the route you want to go, I would recommend looking to getting the CSSP. And you may change your mind into doing hacking. So.
Somebody's typing a question. Yeah, there's a lot of information online that is just all over the place. So it's just a matter of, putting it all in one place. Um,
And like you said, persistence, you really have to hunt for some of this information. This information is not going to be spoon-fed to you. When you do a search, it's not going to just pop up. You're going to have to dig and dig and dig in order to find, especially the free stuff.
um, summer research work for, why does the window keep moving there?
I would say that I actually did a lot of my research work at the institute I went to. So at RIT, during my summers and everything, I mean, higher education is probably the best place for research, especially when you're doing theoretical. You get into government and industry, and they're more application-based. You'll find a few research companies here and there, but most of the research I found was right in college still, and asking professors what projects they had that they were working on and things like that. And that's fun stuff.
In addition to that, I'm going back to security/hacker groups, and I'm talking ethical hacker groups. There are a lot of little small pockets of folks that are constantly researching, things, all types of things, and it's just a matter of finding those people, those groups. And I know of some, which I'll throw up again on the slides. So research groups.
If I can also add, the NSA also has a pretty robust internship program where they do some research during the summer. I've met a number of women who have participated as interns doing research, and they were, they had a really good experience with that. So if you're interested in that, I can also put that up as well.
I think I added that in one of the links for.
Oh, sorry, Lisa, I didn't see that in there.
But that's good because, NSA is always, they want to hire folks. They're big too on hiring folks.
Yeah, and they're really trying to hire a lot of women. I've worked with them for a number of years, and they really, the head of many of their CS divisions are women. So that would be a good thing to pursue. Oh, so I see the PowerPoint has been put up here. You probably all can see it at this point. If you want to download the PowerPoint that we've been going through, you can go ahead and do that now. It will also be posted to our website later today.
And I just want to put out there, women are not, our group has a passion for cybersecurity and getting people into it. So if you really want to, you're serious and want some mentoring, we're up for it. And we are a group of sharing information. We're not hoarders like some people are, that just don't want to share their information for whatever reason. I really feel strongly about sharing information and helping folks succeed. So if you really want to chat offline, hit me up. And I think I provided, Gianna, you're going to provide that information.
Yes. So, Lori, can you talk a little bit about, your background, so you come from a different angle than Krista, and I think you're probably more in line with a lot of the women in the global tech women community who are network administrators, who are in databases. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about how your voyage going into this field from from that background.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why I went the way I did, going into networking before getting into security and getting a really strong background, is, you've got a security device that's in between all the network devices. If that device doesn't work, your network doesn't work. So you really have to be careful about inline devices and things like that. So you got to know what you're doing. Plus, it builds credibility. Those security people who know networking, or in the firewall space, they have a little bit more credibility with each other if they have a networking background. And it also gives you a good grounding because a lot of the classes that you go to learn networking and a lot of the material you read, security is built in. It's not supposed to be bolted on. Everybody hears that, everybody says that, but you got to do it. If you're a server person, you have to build that server from the start as a secure server. You don't build a server and then go, oh, yeah, we forgot to put the security on it.
Right.
I mean, it has to be integrated in everything you do because you're the front line. You're the one touching the material. So, and I also come from a space where I'm doing vulnerability remediation and documentation, and that helps a lot. And it helps a lot with your learning, and it helps a lot with, getting your hands on the stuff and remembering it.
That's great. Great advice. So Lisa, do you want to take on this question?
Sure.
Interesting.
So they have been extremely careful with their contact information, such because they're, oh yeah, this is a scary thought for me. Can you some thoughts on this? If somebody wants to find you, they'll find you, right? I mean, you can only hide so much. So if you're concerned with your information being out there, you're not going to be on Facebook, you're not going to be on LinkedIn and such, right? But you can't also live in a cave. So I think it's more about being smart about what you put online. And in addition to that, making sure your computer is secure to begin with. The firewall AV, you're not clicking links that are suspicious. And I don't want to say you wouldn't be targeted, because anyone can be targeted for whatever reason, especially like if you're a small business, for instance. So I would just recommend smart surfing, smart posting. You're not going to go on Facebook and say, for example, my Norton antivirus is not working today. Can anybody help? You're just telling the world what kind of antivirus you have. Or, social engineering is big, using social platforms like that. So you just got to be smart and careful about what you post. And for your physical safety too, because you don't want to say, like, I'm going to be out of town this weekend. Now it's not hard to find where you live, and now your house is broken into because they know you were gone that weekend. Especially like shopping wise, you make sure you are over HTTPS, which is secure. Although there's still ways to hack that, but anyway, at minimum, you want to make sure that you're running in a secure browser.
Yeah, you also have to educate yourself on financial things, because I found out a lot digging through, because nobody wants to have their credit card stolen or anything like that. But you can actually freeze your credit if you're worried about somebody, impersonating you or stealing your identity. If you really dig into it, you can find ways to give yourself a little bit more safety, but nothing's exactly criminal proof.
And also, for shopping wise, again, if you want, they have virtual credit cards out there. So it's a one-time use credit card, and you put your money on there and shop with it, and even if it got stolen, no one could use it again. So that's one way to protect yourself too.
So we don't have any further questions, so I want to thank Lisa for an incredible presentation, a lot of great information on there that we will be referring to in the future. And I'm sure we'll be watching this webinar over and over again, you know, to get more information as we progress through our journeys in cybersecurity. And I would thank Krista and Lori for their great insight into their careers. And I hope that you'll come back to Women Talk Tech as you progress and let us know how it's going and what advice that you'd have for the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Deanna, for having us.
All right. So this is our last webinar of this series for the year. So I want to wish you all a happy holiday, and we'll see you in 2013. And we're so glad to be part of your lives and part of this community. And we just want to thank you all for all of your participation. And we look forward to collaborating with you in the new year. So thanks, everybody. And thank you so much to the Provoke Live online network. And special thanks to Todd, our producer, who has done an amazing job this year. We're so grateful, Todd, for everything that you do. And to Linda Bernardi, a great friend and so gracious to offer this tool to us. So thank you both very much. All right, that's it. We're wrapping up. Thanks again, everybody. Bye.
Bye.